Welcome to the Vibrant Life podcast. This is the official podcast of the Vibrant Life community. And I'm Sarah Nolan, and I'm here with Ashley Ulkus, who is an amazing performance and success coach. She works with female business owners who are aspiring or just getting started or established to get unstuck and close the gap between where they are and where they want to be. So I'm so excited to have you here, Ashley. Ashley overcame burnout from her corporate job, and she then pivoted into a career of passion, purpose, and fulfillment. And this is such a perfect topic for what we do on this podcast. I mean, this is all about overcoming burnout. And I know a lot of people tend to be a little bit scared to make a pivot like that, scared to make that big change. But after talking with Ashley, I could see that it was so worth it. I mean, your life is totally different now.
Oh, night and day different.
So can
in like every way.
Yeah. Can you tell us how this all began? Like, how did you know? What were some red flags that burnout was coming? How did you know it was there? How did you overcome it?
Absolutely. So my whole background, I spent 16 years in corporate marketing and brand building. And there were a few things that kind of led me down this path. I knew for many years that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. Like that was kind of always deep inside of me. But that question that plagues, I think, every aspiring entrepreneur is like, okay, great. What would you do? Like, what would be the thing that you would even build a business around? And I thought about that for so long. And it's interesting when you graduate from college and you have a degree and you start off and you kind of start going down this path. And all of a sudden, you like one job leads to another job to another job. And at some point, some of us, like this happened to me, I kind of look further down the road and I said, do I really want to do that? Like, is my goal and the trajectory of my career a CMO position? Like, and is that something that I really feel drawn towards? Because as I was building my career, I was building my family, and I have 3 little kids, and I just saw, I was traveling and I was doing all these things, and I just started to feel like this push and pull about being a full-time working mom. I had so much mom guilt that it was overwhelming to me, especially after I had my 3rd daughter. And I just got to this point where I was like, is the path that I've been on for all of these years truly the path that I'm meant to stay on? Right? Or am I just kind of following like the path that's laid out in front of me, the one that's expected, versus the one that I really truly feel like I'm meant to be on. And there were a couple of things that happened in my career that led me to this place that kind of put me in this kind of place where I was ready to more pull the trigger on my own coaching business. I would say first is that while I was in my last, I would tell you, like, corporate marketing role, my husband started building a coaching and consulting business. And I watched him do this on the sidelines. And I just kept thinking, like, that's really interesting. Because this was a few years ago when coaching was kind of just getting up and going. Now I'd say it's more popular and whatever, but, and I was watching him do this. So I kind of got introduced to this being an option as an entrepreneur a few years back. And then at the same time, what was happening at my corporate job is it was just not a healthy environment for me. There were some things I was dealing with that, quite frankly, were just it felt more negative than positive. Like I was leaving more there than I was really getting out of it myself. And I knew I needed to remove myself from that situation. And so I started seeing a career coach and just trying to put all the pieces of my career together, all the stuff that I had built up. I was kind of at this moment where I felt like I was at a crossroads. I actually called a recruiter and I was like, I think I want to blow my career up. And he was like, stop, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I just don't think I want to do this anymore. And at the same time, my career coach and I were working together to really put the pieces of my background, like from a professional standpoint, but also from a personal standpoint, really kind of lay it all out and look at the highs and the lows. And when I was at my highest, what were those? Were there any common factors that were at play And interestingly enough, I worked at Cliff Bar and Company for 8 years, and a big part of my job there was building out all of our marketing strategy to go and target college women, because I worked on the Luna Bar brand. And over the course of 5 years, I recruited, hired, trained, and mentored 150 college women. And I absolutely saw that as a highlight of my time when I was at Cliff Bar. And that's what introduced me to be more in this like mentor leader role for younger women that were kind of just really starting to understand what they wanted to do once they left college, and kind of giving them some skill sets along the way that helped them then land jobs. And I absolutely I just loved that relationship that we built. And so that's where I would tell you that like my passion for coaching and mentoring started, but I didn't really even put those pieces together until many years later when I kind of looked back. And then at every role since then, I was always kind of put in leadership positions, and I really enjoyed, I enjoyed I enjoyed the process of it. I enjoyed helping other people and mentoring other people. And that's what kind of came out of this career coaching, was that there's definitely a thread here where when you are, surprisingly enough, it was always women. When you are coaching and mentoring women, that's when you really feel like you're really truly in your zone of genius and like fulfilling your purpose. And so it took a lot of years of just building a career and then going and looking back through all of it and kind of stripping it down and getting really clear on what I really truly like. And I also, when I would tell you, like when I was in my corporate roles, and I told you this when we talked last, like I never felt like I could fully be myself. I felt like I was in this place where I was expected to be, act and react in a certain way. And it never really felt genuine to me. I always felt like I was just kind of playing a role versus really truly being able to be myself, because I knew that, because I'm pretty honest and I'm pretty transparent and I have all these things. And I know that doesn't always lend itself well when you are in a corporate environment. And so I always was like holding back in a certain way. And I was like, where and what could I build where I don't have to hold back anymore? And where I can truly kind of more step into my purpose and make an impact. I think that was the other piece of when I was in marketing. I love marketing. I have a huge passion for brand building, but that at the end of the day, I kept thinking like, does this matter? Like, am I really helping and impacting people in a positive way that's going to help change their life? And no, I wasn't. And so I kind of got to this point where I stopped believing in the process. And I wanted to more take it and say, if I can make a real impact, it's going to be on people's lives. And so how do I take everything that I've learned and everything that I've built up over all these years and make a positive impact on people so they can then go out and change their lives? That felt so much more rewarding to me than marketing healthy snacks or alcohol or, anything like that.
Something I love so much about your story, Ashley, is that, well, you have stayed very close to what matters to you. You have made a priority of your fulfillment. Like it wasn't just about the money or the status or, the certainty and safety of that job.
Whew, no.
Right. But so many people do. And that's how people, there's so much mental illness and anxiety and depression and all these things that lead to that burnout. And something else that stuck out to me with your story is that and I know I see this so much with women who discover their passion and their purpose, is they realize they've been doing it all along.
Oh yeah.
And so it's cool to see that you have connected those dots and figured out, what's really going to fill you up now in that zone of genius. As you've been helping other women to do themselves.
I think you're totally right. Like, I think that while I was always doing what I was meant to do in different facets or in like tiny little doses of my full-time corporate jobs, And I would never have really put all those pieces together and kind of followed those breadcrumbs had I not done this one particular exercise and really broke it all down. And started, and I would say also is that I always knew I loved leading. Like I have like an innate like leadership ability about me. But it was accepting that this is what I was meant to do and like actually owning it, because for a while, you know, the imposter syndromes can set in and all these things can set in and they can totally take you off course. But it's like listening to what other people had said about me too, I think also helped push me further down this path. Like my husband's a huge, huge supporter of what I do. And I would tell you, he's probably my biggest cheerleader in terms of when I was feeling major doubt and kind of keeping me going down that path. But then I also sat back and I listened and I like reflected on what my old coworkers would say about me or what my old managers would say about me, or like all of those women that I mentored. What did they say about me? Because I always made sure that I got reviews from them. Like, how was our interaction helpful, and really understand what I could do better. And so it was like, there was actual proof in front of me that no, this is actually a skill that you have. And this is part of your natural talents, and to not step into it and to take ownership of it, but not only say it, but really believe it. You know, I think sometimes the believing part gets hard, because then you start to think, well, who am I? Like, well, anyone could do this. Well, actually, no, that's not true. Not everyone can do what we do. And so a lot of people can, but then they battle the mental roadblocks that are preventing them from really doing it. And I would say that, yeah, those pieces were always there. There was like always this underlining theme in my career. But it ultimately took me down a completely different path than what I had been preparing for 16 years.
Now, what inspired you to seek out help with this? A lot of people, they're scared to seek out help, or they feel like there's something wrong with them if they have to do that. And you mentioned that you worked with a career coach as you made this transition. So what was the deciding factor with that?
So I would tell you that I had always felt all along that I was never fully able to be myself within corporate America. Mm-hmm. There was always something that was like preventing me from going all in, because I knew that I'd have to play politics and I suck at that stuff. I'm not good at it. And I could never fully be myself. And at the same time, I was in an environment in one company that I worked for where there was a fair amount of sexual harassment happening. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, I'm raising these 3 kids. And then on another personal note, I went through breast cancer when I was at that company too. Mm-hmm. And so all of these big moments in my life, right? So I went through breast cancer when I was there. I had my 3rd child,
all girls, right?
All girls.
Yeah.
Oh, help me. But that, it's like my perspective just changed. Mm-hmm. Like it just completely shifted. And I started with like the sexual harassment and stuff. I started thinking to myself, like, I am such a phony. Like I am raising these 3 girls to be strong, independent women that won't put up with this kind of crap. Mm-hmm. But yet I go into an office every day knowing that there's a chance that some comment's going to be said or something's going to happen. Right. And I'm accepting it by staying. I'm saying I accept to be treated this way. Mm-hmm. And I just started feeling this huge conflict that was happening. Like, that is not who I am. That is not what I stand for. But I was at the mercy of the paycheck and of the health insurance. And my husband's growing a business at the same time. So I felt kind of handcuffed into this situation. And I just kept thinking, no, there's a different way. And so I was connected to my career coach actually through Jake, my husband. And he was like, I think you would love her. Like, she's amazing. And I had also at this, like very on a personal level, I had gone and sought out therapy for different things in my personal life. And so it really opened me up to this whole idea of like seeking outside help, because sometimes we just can't work through what's happening in our brains and our minds. And like, it's so raw and we're so in it that you can't see, the perspective is just so different. And so I had done that, opened up my eyes a little bit to how valuable other people's perception of situations is. Mm-hmm. And I also know that we like to limit ourselves. And so to work with a career coach and really kind of throw it out on the table, like in a very honest way, she was going to be able to help me put pieces together that I just couldn't see because I was too closely connected to it. And it was also her, like she was just such a wonderful, empowering, we just clicked really well. And so that's what I will say about coaching is that you really have to click with your coach.
Exactly.
Because then it's like all your defenses go down, your guard goes down. And I say it's like it's very open and honest, and you're going to get the most value out of it when you really click and you feel like they have your best interest in mind. And so that was it. I mean, I had just kind of had enough. I had enough of like working every day for someone else's dream when I was not being respected. Who I was in my head and in my heart was not matching up on a daily basis going into that office. And I'm trying to raise these 3 kids. And I'm like, if I'm going to be an example for them, I have to walk the walk. Like I can't just, you know what I mean, make excuses or settle for less than what I really deserve. And so I was so happy that I went and kind of opened myself up to career coaching, because it was more than career coaching though. It was I would tell you in a way it was also therapy, because I was able to talk through all of the toxic stuff that was happening, all while uncovering like truly where I was meant to be going.
Yeah.
So it was healing. It was a healing, but yet there was a lot of clarity in the process too.
And so now that you're a coach yourself, how do you help women who may be going through the same kinds of things you went through, where they were in corporate and they're trying to figure out, oh my gosh, now I've got to start my own company. Like, where do I even begin? Or they have started it and just, I remember when I started my company, I felt really overwhelmed. There were so many opinions coming at me and I didn't know who to trust or what to trust. There was just so much. So how do you help women make that transition?
Yeah. So I would tell you that so much of what I do is it's about like, I really connect with them, and I let them direct a lot of it, because I feel like so much of how I can be helpful is really understanding what's happening without any amount of judgment at all. Like there's zero judgment. It's like, what is going on currently in your life? What is holding you back in your business? What is holding you back? And how do we start to like strategically peel all of that apart? But I would tell you so much when I go back, because when I've coached hundreds of women and I've had online courses and private coaching, and I always go back and I ask for feedback, and I always am asking like, what can I do better? Like what has, and it's always that we always say resoundingly that I just listen and I understand. But I also believe that I bring forward a lot of honesty. And so they know that when I'm being honest, or when I'm seeing something that maybe they're self-sabotaging or they're not truly giving it their all, right? Because I know what they're capable of and I know what they want. And so I can really start to distinguish between them holding themselves back for real reasons or for kind of false reasons.
Right.
But I hold them accountable. And it's a lot about, I listen, I understand, where are you? Where do you want to be? Walk me through why you're feeling this way right now. What has happened? A lot of times it's stuff that's happened in their life that has completely shut them down. I'm thinking of one of my most recent clients. Like she was like gangbusters in her business, doing really well, felt so centered and so just empowered. And she had a couple of things happen in her personal life that completely just took her off track. And for us and for her, and now she's moving in the right direction now, and she's feeling incredibly confident and she knows what to do now. So she went from like having all the answers, knowing exactly how to run her business, to literally being handcuffed and feeling like she was in cement.
Wow.
And so it was a lot about listening and understanding, where were you? What happened? Sharing maybe different perspective on situations that happened to her, so she could start to frame it differently in her mind, and not feeling like it was holding her back, but like instead finding those ways and those skills and the things that she could then kind of propel herself forward. And she just lost her confidence. And so much of our coaching was just listening to her and really listening, not like falsely, like just kind of like, it was more like really understanding, listening, caring about her, and then giving her real strategies that she could implement on a daily basis to start to turn herself around. And I'm very clear with my clients, like, this is not an overnight thing. Your business, if you are in a successful business or you've run a successful business, it didn't happen overnight. You know, sometimes it feels like it takes forever to grow, and then a couple things happen and it can stop your progress really quick. But to get that momentum back going, it takes time, because oftentimes you're kind of healing from something that may have happened, or, you know, I think there's 100 different reasons why people kind of get stuck. Yeah.
You know, I love that we're talking about this right now. As for everybody watching and listening, we're recording this during the coronavirus pandemic. And this is something that's shaking a lot of confidence for people. You know, a lot of people are losing their confidence and second guessing themselves. So how would you suggest that people maintain confidence? And then, you know, the reality is most people are going to get a little bit stuck, or maybe a lot stuck as a result of this. So how can they rebuild themselves when this is over?
I think one is that always remembering, like, cause you know, we're like day 2 being at home now, and like homeschooling hasn't started yet. My husband and I both work from home with our 3 kids here. Like, we have a lot to figure out ourselves.
Right.
And I would be totally lying if I didn't have those moments of like a little panic, like, how are we going to operate all through this? Right. But for me, I kind of like to practice what I preach. To me, I realize that this is very temporary, and that you know, because you have those questions in your brain, right? Like, do I continue to build my business knowing that all of this is going on? And like, how do I feel good? Do I feel good about that? And blah, blah, blah. Well, yes, I absolutely do feel good about it, because I know that this is temporary. I know that when this is over and we go back to life, whatever normal will look like then, it probably will look pretty normal to what it looked like before. People will probably won't be washing their hands a lot more, which is a good thing. But I realized then that, you know, I'm being tested right now. I'm truly being tested, and I'm a little stubborn in that way, is that I know that why I do what I do is stronger than like moments of panic or stress or anxiety over the next 30 to 60 days. And I think that's one thing people really have to get rooted into, why they're doing what they're doing, especially for like entrepreneurs, solopreneurs that are out here. Why did you do this? If it was just for money, I tell people this all the time, if it's just for money, it's not going to last for you. There has to be a greater purpose in terms of impact and on your life, on other people's lives. There has to be something more deeply connecting you to what you're doing. And so to me, it's about always coming back to why I'm doing this. Why am I doing this for my clients, for current prospective clients? Why am I doing this for my family? And also really understanding that, and you know, I'm kind of an anxious person from time to time. So this is going to be an interesting test for me in the next few weeks, but I always come back to why I'm doing what I'm doing, and that this is truly a building block for me. Like, this is just another thing. Like, I've encountered a lot in my life. I've gone through a lot in my life. We all have, and we've survived it. We've overcome it. This is absolutely no different than that.
Exactly. Yeah.
To me, this is just a character builder. This is more proof. This is more like real proof that like you have what it takes, and you have the mental like capacity, know-how, strength to persevere, even when I think some of us are going to be at our most like some of our darkest moments in the next few weeks. And it's about always knowing that this is temporary. And the more you can stay on a schedule, which we're figuring that out here in our house, the more you can still do those daily things that kind of keep your business moving and keep you moving healthy, mentally, physically, everything. You know, we're kind of having to just find a new routine and a new schedule. And that takes a little time. And so that, like, for me, it's also giving myself a little bit of grace and saying that I don't have all the answers right now, but I figured a whole lot of stuff out in my life without really having any of the answers. And this is no different. And I'm going to trip up. And this is what I would tell anyone, like, you're going to trip up. You're going to have moments where you're feeling totally unproductive. You might have a whole day where you just like veg out on the couch and you don't really do anything to build your business. It's like, do not beat yourself up for those things. You come back the next day stronger. But it's also the one thing that I talk to a lot of my clients is like setting very realistic goals for yourself. Like, do not set yourself up to fail, because it will just be compounded. That feeling will compound, and then you're going to get stuck. It's like, no, create baby, tiny goals, milestones for yourself that kind of keep you checking that list off, so you still feel empowered and motivated and confident. And the other thing that, I mean, I think a lot of people could even do is write it down. Yeah. Like, as you're going through this process, so much healing and like so much can be done by just getting the thoughts out of your head and taking moments to journal and really write down what's going on, how you're feeling, and not in a way that like your fear of judgment or anything like that. It's like, no, it's for you to read. So it's like being very honest with yourself. If you're feeling anxious, if you're feeling doubtful, if you're feeling excited, if you're feeling whatever it might be, getting all of those thoughts out of your head and written down. But then also recognize, especially for us, like as we grow businesses at home, how fortunate are we that we can continue to grow our business and it's been impacted, but not as much as if we were relying on large corporate environments or like in the restaurant service industry. Like the coaching industry is kind of built for this in a sense, because of how we operate. And, you know, I think that we are all just way more resilient than we ever give ourselves credit for.
Yeah. You and Jake are launching a program designed for that, right?
We are. Yeah, we
designed to help companies to get online so that they can also be resilient in these times as well.
Yeah. So Jake is a consultant as well. And he works with, I would say, companies more and individuals to help them kind of with that kind of fulfillment, right? He and I are teaming up, which will be fun and interesting and kind of, you know, all these things, but we actually complement each other really well. And so we're actually helping, for us, it's going to be aspiring entrepreneurs or established entrepreneurs, whatever it might be, people that are in corporate America that have always had this itch to do something like more built from their passions and their talents and strengths. So it's called the 2020 Vision to Launch. And it's a 6-week program where you come in and you could have a fully baked idea or a half-baked idea of basically creating your own online business. So centered around coaching, course creation, workshops. So bringing a talent that you have, I mean, and it can really run the gamut, right? So some of Jake's clients are therapists. So how do you bring, you know, couples therapy into more of a digital online space? For me, another client that we're working with right now, she is a motivational, she's like a motivational coach. And so she helps other women kind of find that motivation to uncover their true kind of meaning and fulfillment and kind of hit the restart button so they can go after their goals. Right. And so she's a motivational coach. And so I would tell you that your skills and your talents can be of wide variety. I mean, shoot, I also have someone in the financial services space who she's a CPA for small businesses. So how does she take her business online in a sense and create a course or create a workshop for people to kind of go through? So it's interesting. People are like, well, what's the niche? And I'm like, well, it's really, I mean, everyone has such different skills and talents, right? And so, but if you have an itch to take it online and to teach other people and coach other people, this is like the perfect program to kind of baby step you through that process. There's so much uncertainty when you're like, well, that's a great idea, but how do you do it?
You know, I feel like this right now, as we're recording this with the coronavirus epidemic, is such a great time to modernize our workforce. You know, there's no reason that people should have to go into a brick and mortar in order to run a business. And so I love this opportunity that you guys have to help people modernize their companies and get on board with the way the rest of the world is headed.
Absolutely. I think there's just I think what people there's so many people out there waiting for you to kind of finally hit the go button.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I even have a client she's a keto coach. She's a keto coach.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you bring that into the space, right? And teach other people ways of keto and meal prepping and stuff like that. We work with physical, like fitness trainers and nutritionists and stuff. How do you bring your talents and your skill set to a broader audience? And being truly able to run a business online gives you so much flexibility, and you get to drive the bus on what it looks like,
Mm-hmm.
who you're going to work with, kind of all of those details of that business. You're in control of it. And I think that's incredibly empowering. But oftentimes in that process, I mean, I've been there, and you were probably there a few years ago when you were starting your business. Where do you even start?
Right.
What's the next step? What's the step after that? Like, what is the formula to get you from point A to point B, and not getting tripped up in all of the different little, challenges that you're going to meet like along that path.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we're excited about. It's like taking people that really have limited knowledge of what this industry looks like and what the potential is, and really helping them like kind of follow along this journey without all the challenges and all the stressors that can come. And that's what we're excited about. It's like, how do we get you from idea to execution into people paying for your expertise,
right?
In a 6-week period of time. And so I think it's really exciting, because I know, like, I don't know if but I remember when I created my first course and I had the first person pay me for my course, I was like, what just happened? It was such an amazing magic. Yeah. I was like, wait, they want what I have. Okay. They do. They really do, and so that's what we're just so excited to see people kind of step into their true purpose and empower them with, all the different tools and skills that it's going to take to be successful.
Absolutely. I started my company in 2013,
Mm-hmm.
and if I could change anything, it would be investing in some kind of coaching from the beginning, because I spent years just trial and error trying to figure stuff out. And I scaled before I had a foundation. Mm-hmm. And so everything just kind of collapsed at one point, and I had to start back up from the beginning. I think everything happens for a reason. But in a way, it felt like I wasted a lot of time and a lot of resources. I mean, I probably spent 10 times more money just trying different things than if I were to have just hired a coach and gotten a faster track to what took me years could have taken me weeks or months.
I mean, 1,000%. So what's funny is, Jake's a coach consultant and he works with entrepreneurs, but I hired a coach.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like when I was like, no, I want to become a coach. I actually hired a coach for coaches. And she asked me, she goes, well, why didn't you just work with your husband? And I was like, what? I'm like, no, no, I need a different dynamic for this. Like I need, different eyes, ears, not as involved in like my entire, every facet of my life. Right.
Yeah.
But I will say that investment, and it was a hefty investment, but to me, it also made me feel really serious about what I was doing.
Oh yeah.
I was like, when you put your money on the line and you are actually saying, no, I'm going to invest in this business, invest in my future, you feel so much more accountable to yourself and to the process. And you're right. Like once you have accepted and embraced that there are people out there that have walked the path that you're about to walk, and they can help you avoid the potholes, and they can kind of smooth it out for you. And knowing that, yes, you will pay for their services, but you will reap the benefits tenfold in the end. Like it's just a mental switch that people have to make to say, I'm ready to invest in a coach and a mentor.
Yeah. And it's like, how much do you believe in what you're doing?
Yes.
How much do you believe in yourself? And do you trust yourself to follow through? And I think that's for me, when I got clear on that and I said, you know what, this is worth it. and I trust myself that I'm going to follow through and I'm going to take advantage of this help. I mean, that was it. It was like a no-brainer when I got to that point mentally myself.
So you just take it more seriously.
Exactly.
You know, you
exactly.
you believe like, I'm capable of this. And it's kind of just this moment where, you know, if you're willing to put financial resources on the line, that's, I think, the moments when you're like, okay, I've come to this place where I'm really going to give myself a shot at this. And I always tell my clients too, I'm like, don't hire a coach that's never hired a coach. Because, like, you know, we believe so much in the coaching industry, and I mean, I would never tell you that I know as much as all these other people. No, I have my own skill sets, but I know there are people out there in the coaching space. Like, if I'm trying to work through something and I'm trying to take my business to a new place and, you know, kind of scale it up a bit, there's other coaches out there that have already done it. And they can just help bring me through that process so much more seamlessly with so much less pain.
Yeah. And you know what else I found with investing in coaching is the further I go with my own coaching investment, the more I'm able to show up for my clients.
Totally.
Yeah. It's like, I've invested in a pretty significant program myself. And because of that, I'm able to help my clients I'm blown away by the kinds of things that I'm able to tell them. And I just, in my mind, I'm thinking, I feel so privileged to help on this level. I never would have been able to just on my own. You know, I think just having somebody a few steps ahead of you to help the people a few steps behind you.
Absolutely. And I kind of look at it as coaching as more just further education.
Right, exactly.
You know, sorry, my dog is right here. You go through 4-year college, you know, if you go through 4-year college to kind of get you the solid foundation so you can join the corporate world or become a teacher or a healthcare provider. But then when you become a coach, there's a whole other level of education that has to come with that as well, because it's an industry you've never been involved in before. And so I kind of look at coaching and investing in coaching as investing in like my skills, my talents, my understanding of different concepts. And the more the same goes with like reading and listening to podcasts. The more information you can absorb and the more you can really take stuff in, and that could be from a coach too, I agree with you 1,000%. I am now able to help my clients in a much deeper way than I was when I first started off.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so to me, like, I know I will always invest in coaching for myself, because there's so much more for me to learn. And there's so much, you know, I have so much more growth to do.
Exactly. And the growing never stops, you
No.
know, and especially it's like accelerated growing when you're investing in coaching. Now, I would like to direct our listeners and viewers to how they can reach out to you. Like if you all are clicking with Ashley, just, you know, on this call, in this episode, and you have that feeling that like, wow, I think she can really help me. And you're an aspiring or a new entrepreneur, then, or if you want to take your business online, then you can reach out to her. She's got an email address, ashley@ashley.ulkus.com.
-ulkus.com.
-ulkus.com. Yes. And she can help you to close that gap, discover the gap, close it, and continue growing your company. And they also have, as we mentioned a little bit earlier, the 2020 Vision to Launch program, which is an online program to help you take your business online so that you have the freedom to do business wherever and however you want to do it. And I do business online, and I would never do it any differently. It is amazing. Totally. It's amazing.
It totally is. Yeah. And I would say if you're out there and you feel like you've been stuck, right? And you're spinning your wheels and the frustration is growing and the doubt is growing and you're not able to get yourself kind of out of this rut, you're the perfect person to have like a 30-minute consultation, and just, is this right for you? What's going on with you? Would you benefit from coaching? And then the other is that if you have this like passion inside of you to take some skill, you're like a current business you have, a skill you have, a talent, an expertise that you have, and to create an online business out of that. Right. And it doesn't have to be like, it just set up a consultation and we'll totally see if you have something and if our program would benefit you. But to be able to kind of put all those pieces together and then serve it to a warm or cold audience, like, just the general public, and have someone out there like, I need that. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's going to totally help me solve whatever issue I'm having. It's just such I don't know, to be a course creator by taking a passion or expertise that you have and baking it into this online business, and then making impact and growing an income while you're doing it, a different revenue stream. It's just incredibly empowering.
Exactly. Yeah. And especially if you've got family, if you're raising kids at the same time, you can never get the time back. And so it's life-changing. So
it really is.
So if you're feeling any resonance at all, if you're feeling just that thing in your gut that's like, ooh, this sounds right, this feels right, or you're just curious, then shoot Ashley a message, and she's going to also give us a link to be able to schedule a call with her. Then go for it. You've got nothing to lose.
Nope, not at all. But
right.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you so much, Ashley. And
Absolutely.
Thank you everybody for watching and listening. We really value your time. We really value your time and energy. And we will talk soon.
Sounds good. All right. Thank you. Bye.